welcome to my channel, A Book Forest. My name is Kim. Today I'm going to be doing my March and April wrap-up. So hopefully I'm coherent in this video because I'm super tired. March and April were kind of intense. You know, when everything in your life is a bit too much, like not catastrophic, but just like everything is draining a bit too much energy. So that's how I feel at this junction. But yeah, I'll try to speak about the books that I read during those 2 months, and I'll also maybe talk about some TV series that I've been watching and I usually don't, so I'm gonna talk about that. So I'm gonna go as usual in order of preference. So from the books I least enjoyed to the ones I most enjoyed. The first one on the list would be You Are Here by David Nichols. So I read that on the Kindle. I picked it up on a whim. It's a romance, and I felt like a romance, and once again I was kind of disappointed in the romance I chose. I was expecting something with mature adults, which I am. So I kind of like reading about romance, but from a perspective of someone older. And yeah, the people in there are kind of middle age. I would say they're in their 40s, but they don't act like it. So I want to read a book about adults that behave like adults and not teenagers, and it's not what I got. So it's two people who are divorced. They kind of had terrible experiences. One kind of had some things that happened with his wife that they grew apart basically, but he got in a traumatic altercation with some young people, and he just stopped trying really. So he just goes on these long walks, like hiking on his own, and he's kind of a loner. And the other character, the lady, is also like her first husband was a shit husband. They got divorced, and she's kind of, since the pandemic, she's kind of withdrawn into herself and into her little routine. Like she works from home and she sort of never goes out. And they somehow have the same friend, like a mutual friend, like a very close friend to both of them, but they never met. So that was weird to me, or they never talked about each other or anything like that. And this friend wants to have people hook up around her, so she's like married and happily married apparently, and has a child, a teenager. But she's like, okay, we're all going on this hike, like the coast to coast of England hike, which that's the part I enjoyed. But yeah, we're going coast to coast with my friend here, and I'm gonna invite a couple more people. Like there's gonna be 2 men and 2 women, and it's kind of blind dating on a hike, which was like, it's not the type of place you would do blind dating. I don't know. It's a bit too long and arduous. And also, like, they're grown people in their 40s. They don't have time to go on a coast-to-coast hike. Like, I don't know. It didn't seem believable. However, like the hiking part was enjoyable. I would like to do some of that hike. Not the ones in the Lake District, like in the mountains. That it sounds terrifying, but there are some portions of the hiking that I would like to do. But yeah, the two main characters, like the man was kind of likable. I mean, he was a bit introverted, but that's fine. And he was decent and rather normal, but he's still hung up on his ex-wife, or actually they're separated, so still hung up on his wife. Like, why are you going dating if you're not even divorced yet? Another more like, just take your time, you know. And then the girl, the woman, she's like behaving like a teenager. I don't know, she had like all these anxieties, and I can't, how do I talk to another human male being or whatever. I'm like, goodness gracious, if anything should happen to my husband, heaven forbid, if I wanted to date again, I mean, I think I would be able to talk to people without going into anxiety or hypermobile, but maybe it's just me. I'm sorry if you're like really anxious and you have difficulty talking to people, but I'm like, at a certain point in life, just get over it. So I had little patience for our girl here, but otherwise, like, it's cute, but the ending was kind of meh, so I would not necessarily recommend that one. Okay, so next I'm moving to Agatha Christie. So that's the third book I read for my Miss Marple project this year. The Moving Finger. It's kind of it's set in a village, and the main protagonists are brother and sister. The brother is recovering from an injury, so he's going to they rent a house in the country to just like to be convalescents there. And the brother and sister are city people, and they're coming into this quaint little village, and they're kind of clashing. Like, obviously they're different. It's like this city people with versus the country people, kind of cliche a little bit. And there's like letters going around, like very horrible, nasty letters going around, like anonymous letters, and saying like, oh, like, you're not really brother and sister, you're like lovers or whatever. And it's always like very big dramatic, like, oh, it's not really believable. So it's rumored, but there's rumors going around. Obviously people in the village are gossiping about it, and everyone's afraid. Like, they all seem to think like, oh man, what if it hits the even if they don't know what they're talking about, what if it hits a person, and that person actually, it's real, it's true, and they react badly. I'm like, you're anticipating a lot, which kind of is leading the plot a little bit. I don't think that people would actually believe that if nothing bad ever happened. But of course, something bad happens, so someone dies, and they think it's a suicide. Perhaps not. And Miss Marple comes in at the last minute to unravel the whole thing, but most of the book she's not there. Like, she comes in at the tail end of the book, and that's my gripe with it, because I'm reading Miss Marple, I want Miss Marple. So the brother is the one investigating, and he's actually doing a good job of it, so that she could have just done the book with just him and him finding him. Like, sometimes she has standalones with no Marple, no Poirot, and that's fine. But yeah, I don't know, Miss Marple came in at the end, and she kind of didn't belong there at the end. And I think, yeah, Jerry, the character, could have been the investigator in that one. And I guessed who and what happened before the end, so that's why it's a bit lower on my rankings, unfortunately. Okay, then I read a novella. It's Untethered Sky by Fonda Lee. I am interested in Fonda Lee because she writes science fiction and fantasy, but her most famous series is the Green Bone Saga, which kind of is urban fantasy with a plot similar to The Godfather, which are two things I am not interested in per se. So I wanted to maybe try her other books first to see if I enjoyed her writing, and then maybe I would try the Green Bone Saga. So yeah, this was nice for a novella, because I mean, there's only so much you can do with such a short little book, and it's not part of a series, so it's a standalone novella, and it did the work that it had to do. It made me want it. I rather wished it was longer, or that she would write more in that world, because it's interesting. So it's kind of a Earth-like world, but it's fantasy. Like, there's fantastic beasts in it. So most the humans are regular humans. It's just that they have like these majestic birds called rocks that they semi-tame to hunt for manticores. So the biggest threat to human life is the manticore in this world. They're very vicious and attack human settlements and human villages. and there's nothing that can kill them except for the rock. The rocks are like these birds of prey, more like a hawk or a falcon or an eagle. And you know, when people go hunting with those birds, like it's from the Middle Ages and they still do it today. Well, this is kind of what they do with the rocks, except they don't have them on their forearms because they're way too freaking huge. So they have big conveyances that they carry the rocks. And what I enjoyed about this book is like our main character, she's a girl that her life was ruined by Manticore. Like the Manticore killed her family and she wants revenge. So she wants to be a rock tamer, she wants to train the rocks to kill the Manticores because she thinks it's her destiny. Like she wants to kill all the Manticores really. But she gets we get a lot of the training of the rock and the relationship between the rock and herself, and between herself and other trainers as well. And a lot of things happen in this short little book. So it's really lovely. It doesn't take too long to read, and if you want to try Fondly, I highly recommend. I quite enjoyed this, but it's not higher on my list because it's a novella, so I prefer bigger books. All right, so then I finished Fire and Blood because I started it at the beginning of the year. So that's the last book I had to read to finish my A Song of Ice and Fire related books, because I had read the 5 main books way years ago, and I read Night of the Seven Kingdoms recently, and I quite enjoyed this. I mean, it's quite a feat. Like, this has a lot of plot and history condensed in a few pages. Like, it's not that big of a book, and it has from the conquest of Aegon the Conqueror 300 years before the events of Song of Ice and Fire, until the end of the Dance of the Dragons, which I think if you go by the TV show, it's called House of the Dragon. So it's funny because I'm reading currently about Matilda, who was the mother of Henry II, the daughter of Henry I in England. And Matilda and Stephen, her cousin, kind of battled it out for the throne of England. Like, he stole her rightful throne, and she fights him for it. And definitely the Dance of the Dragons is inspired by this. Absolutely. It's a complete mess. Horrible. I didn't rate it higher because it's just so depressing. Like, there's nothing uplifting in this book, as opposed to Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which was kind of sweet and lovely. This is not sweet and this is not lovely. It's bloody, obviously, Fire and Blood. So the conquerors came with the dragons, and this family, the Targaryens, have the dragons over everyone else. They're the only ones who can tame the dragons. But yeah, it's what happens when they go against each other, basically. So yeah, it was impressive and very entertaining as well. Like, it was not of course it's not something you read in one go, but it was really, really good. And I'm also, it's not complete because there's a half of the story that's missing from the Dance of the Dragons to the events of the Night of the Seven Kingdoms. There's some things happening we don't know about. So I think he was planning to do another book, but of course it's probably never going to publish that. But yeah, I mean, don't read that first. Obviously, if you love the A Song of Ice and Fire, yeah, it's worth it. So then I read another Agatha Christie, my 4th one, A Murder is Announced, and I enjoyed that one much more than The Moving Finger. So this is also Miss Marple, but she comes in much earlier, and she's a bit more, it feels like she belongs more in the plot. So there is an advertisement in the newspaper saying a murder is announced at this location, at this date, this time, in this village. And obviously everyone is gonna go because they're okay, that's a game of a murder. There's some games you play at home and everyone has a character, and one of them is the murderer, so they think it's kind of something similar. And they all go, and there's an actual murder that happens. Like, the murderer dies, so they all think, oh, the murderer killed himself. So it's really what happened. Very mysterious. And there's a lot of characters in this village and a lot of things going on. But they were kind of all, I kind of enjoyed them all. And I enjoyed Miss Marple in this, but it's the first one that we have a perspective. And I think I prefer when we don't. Like, I think I prefer when we're not inside our head. We don't have a point of view from Miss Marple. I prefer when the other characters are reacting to her and thinking, like, what is she doing? Like, sweet little old lady. What is she doing? Like, she knows nothing about murder, but obviously she does. Miss Marple is the best. I love her. Yeah, but the whole plot and the whole village were really quite enjoyable, and also the actual ending was like, it was surprising in some ways. I sort of had suspicions, but I didn't guess the exact plot twist, so that's a plus in its favor. So yeah, it's a bit long though. I mean, I think it could have been shorter, but otherwise it was really fun. All right, so, oh, and also it talks about the end after the Second World War. Like, it has a perspective of, like, people, how they saw the world and lived after the Second World War, and how they saw strangers, like, coming from other countries and things like that. So quite interesting to see this perspective. I think it's probably something that Agatha Christie witnessed herself. So yeah, that was fun. All right, so then I read on the Kindle Praetorian. So I finished Praetorian by Guy de la Bédoyère. So I did a review of that. So I'll link it down below. I'm not going to talk too much about it since I did a review, but it was for a Storathon for Q1, and it focuses heavily on the Praetorian Guard. So it tells from the creation of the Praetorian until their fall. So over like 300 years or so. And it's the history of the Roman Empire, but told through the Praetorian history, really. So it's really interesting and very well researched. So my runner-up for favorite is Foundation's Edge by Isaac Asimov. So I read the Foundation trilogy. I did a review of that down below. I'll link it. And I loved the Foundation trilogy. So I wanted to keep going. So that one I really loved. Like, I gave it 5 stars. I was in the mood for sci-fi, and I love classic sci-fi, and I like Asimov, so I was all in for that one. Is for sure like it. Yeah, I loved it. So it talks about after the events of the Second Foundation. I can't really give too many details because that would be really spoilery. But it has some new characters and new focus. And I think probably it's an addition that Asimov did later in his life. He was kind of bullied by his editors to keep going in the Foundation world because people were asking for it, like, and they were seeing money. They wanted the money. So, and I think Asimov just said, like, oh, sure, he caved, and he didn't particularly want to do it, but I think it's at that time he decided to link it to the Robot series. Initially, I don't think those were two part of the same world, but if you love the Foundation trilogy and want more Asimov, I mean, actually, yeah, you can read that. It's fun. Otherwise, yeah, the trilogy is fine on its own. I quite enjoyed the characters in this one, Treves and Pelora. So they're like a buddy, a buddy cop on a spaceship. They're totally different and fun. So I love the sci-fi right now. And then my favorite book, which I'm probably gonna do a review of, because I mean I have many things I loved about this. It was Agatha Christie, part of my project. So it's called Come Tell Me How You Live. And it's by Agatha Christie Malone, because it's her married name, her second husband, who was an archaeologist. And it's at the beginning of those, like, like the Tutankhamun's tomb had been discovered a few years earlier. It's at the beginning of the profession, really. And yeah, she follows her husband to dig in Syria, and she helps him out. Like she takes the photographs, and she helps on the digs, and she's wonderful. And it gives you an angle, like, she's such a famous woman, such an icon, a legend. And you see her more as that than as an actual human being. Like, you see her books first and then herself. But in this, you have her personality that comes out. You have her little quirks, and you have what she thinks of herself and the world around her. It's a journal that she's writing while on a dig with her husband. And the title is a pun. It's Come Tell Me How You Live, because it's archaeology, so it's discovering how people lived through the objects. But a tell is a mount, like it was an archaeological dig, that like they were doing the digs on the tells, which were like cities from the antiquity. And then they were being built over and over, and then it became a mountain, a tell. So I thought it was sweet. And yeah, she's just so lovely in this. So I think I'm gonna do a review. I really enjoyed this. Like, she's so witty, so lovely, personable. I mean, I felt like I knew her. Like, I could have gone for tea with her. A bit like when I read Lucy Montgomery's memoir. I just think those women, they actually lived at the same time, so I wish they would have met, because I think they would have been friends. She's funny and self-deprecating, and there's things that annoy her, and she has a view of the world that's, from her time. But also I think she's a great person as well. Like, she sounds so lovely. So yeah, that's my favorite book I read in those couple of months. So if you love Agatha Christie, I absolutely recommend picking this up. It will give you a new perspective into her life and her soul. Yeah. So let me know what you've been reading, and let me know what was your favorite book you read either in April or March, and see you next time.